Okay, so I welcome you all to this live session on corporate restructuring for all those students who are preparing for your June exams. So this weekly session would be there where we will be discussing about whatever topics you have covered offline, and whatever doubts you have, if there is any current affair or anything, we all can connect here every week, and this will help us to build the concepts better, and this will also help us to remember the concept, revise the concept. So this way, every Sunday we'll meet here. And so towards your doubt, Asta, so your first doubt is there, Regulation 26, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, so Regulation 26, which is the sub-regulation that you mentioned?
Sir, sub-regulation 2.c.
2.c. This one?
Yes, sir.
So basically, here it says that, so Regulation 26 puts an obligation on the company, on the target company, and here a lot of restrictions have been put, right? More than obligation, it's the restriction. And if you just notice, this is one of the biggest hurdle in the takeover defense strategy also. So most of the takeover defense strategy that you have covered cannot be implied in Indian context. The reason being, you have Regulation 26, which works as a hurdle here. So here Regulation 26, sub-regulation 2 clearly mentions that there are certain activities which if the company wants to do, then in that case, they will have to pass a special resolution. And you have in that clause C where it says that issue or allot any authorized but unissued securities entitling the holder to the voting right. So basically, once the open offer, the public announcement for the open offer is given, if you see here, during the offer period. So what's the offer period? Right from the day of public announcement till the open offer is completed, where you say the purchase consideration have been paid, or let's say the open offer have been withdrawn, right? So during that period, the target company said that you cannot issue any shares, or you cannot any authorized but unissued shares. So if there is a share which has been authorized, okay, but it is still not issued, then in that case you are not allowed to proceed with the issue of the shares. Why? Because this will again impact the fair public announcement which is going on. So you have a acquirer, okay, the acquirer has hit the trigger at 25%, right? And he has given the open offer. For example, it's a Regulation 3.1. So he has hit the trigger at 25 and he has given the open offer. Now, taking into consideration, let's say there are 1000 shares. So he has acquired 250 and he has given open offer for additional 260 shares. Now you say to the acquirer that, okay, now we don't have 1000 shares, we have more shares. Like, let's say we have 200 new shares which are there. Now, in this case, if you see the entire calculation of 25% trigger is because there are total 1000 shares in the company and the acquirer has acquired 250 shares, right? That's the genesis of this open offer. Otherwise, what's the logic of this open offer? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you say that, no, we don't have 1000 share, we have 1200 shares. Now, effectively, if you see 250 on 1200, the voting rights have reduced. Correct?
Yes, sir.
No, it's less than 25%. So here it's not a fair game for the acquirer, right? So that's the reason the company have been restricted not to issue any new securities, of course, unless the special resolution has been passed by the company. Also, this can also act like a takeover defense, where the promoters of the company, in case of a hostile takeover, the promoters of the company, they can use this as a takeover defense, where the moment there is a hostile takeover attempt, the promoters would issue shares to themselves and they would consolidate their shareholding, which will again not enable the acquirer to give the open offer, or basically the entire open offer process can fail. So here, that's the reason you have a fair restriction. Of course, everything is subject to special resolution. But then if you have, let's say there is any conversion of the convertible security, okay, and these convertible securities were issued prior to the public announcement and the conversion terms and all were predetermined, then there is no problem. You need not pass a special resolution to issue shares pursuant to these convertible securities. So let's say there was a partly convertible debenture or any convertible preference shares that were issued. Warrants were issued. Now these warrants, the issue price, conversion price, everything has been decided before, and these were issued before the public announcement was given. Now, hence in this case, you are allowed to convert these securities without seeking a special resolution here. Does this make sense?
Yes, sir.
Right. One is this. And second, why they have mentioned that the convertible securities which are issued prior to the public announcement. Otherwise, you see there is no minimum tenure of the convertible securities, correct? So I can issue you preference shares, convertible preference shares today, and I can just say that 3 days later, I'm going to convert it into equity shares, right? So if they would have used the word issue or allot shares upon the conversion of convertible securities, then there would have been a loophole. You could have circumvented the entire provision of this special resolution. The promoters would have said that, okay, we cannot straight away issue the shares. We need to pass a special resolution. Hence, what we can do is we'll issue us convertible security, which will get converted the very next day. Now, do you understand why the reason they have written prior to the public announcement and where the terms are predetermined?
Yes, sir.
And then again, same, if there is any issue, okay, which is pursuant to the public issue, for which again, the red herring prospectus have been filed to the registrar of companies prior to the public announcement of the open offer. So again, there is no problem here. You can go ahead. And next is, if let's say there is any right issue, again, the same concept would be there prior to the public announcement. Again, there is no problem. Does this make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, also in Pacman defense strategy,
Yeah.
so in one of the PYQ session, we were discussing the question. You said that it is also impossible. It is not impossible in India. It can be like it can be implemented by the target company as a defense strategy.
Yes. Which one?
So Pacman strategy.
Yes.
Sir, but in our module, it's written that it is also not possible in India because of this regulation 26 sub-regulation 2.
So here, if you see regulation 26 sub-regulation 2, it says that you cannot do any material borrowings outside the ordinary course of business. Now, in case of Pacman defense, if let's say you already have the good fundings, if you have deep pockets, the cash flows are good, there are surplus cash flow, you need not borrow the money. Okay, you need not borrow the money for the acquiring the shares of the acquirer company, right? So of course this will become a hindrance if let's say the target company is not a cash rich company and they need to borrow the money so that they can give a counter offer to the target company, to the acquirer, to acquire his company share. In that case, this will become a hindrance. So takeover defense strategy, I would say Pacman is still possible. It's not that Pacman is impossible. But other defense strategies, if you say, let's say golden parachute, that's impossible. You cannot do that because Companies Act only do not allow. So, with,
Sir,
yeah.
Sir, but anyway, if we are, if the target company attempts to acquire the acquirer company, there will be an agreement which will be outside the ordinary course of business. So, sir, it won't be restricted in the regulation
So
26.
if you see, it says that you cannot effect any material borrowing, right? You're not borrowing. You are acquiring the shares of the target company, the acquirer company. So you're not borrowing here. There's a difference.
Yes, sir, but in point E, we have enter into contract where parties are target company. So, sir, under this regulation,
So
it
here,
could be restricted.
if you see, enter into, amend, terminate any material contract to which the target company or any of its subsidiary outside the ordinary course of business, whether such contract is with related party, within the meaning of basically the accounting principles, or with any other person. So here, if you see, of course, this is, but still takeover, the Pacman defense strategy still is not impossible. Here, if you don't enter into a contract, so here it says that when you enter into a contract, you don't enter into a contract, you straight away buy the securities. When you straight away buy the security, there I would say section 186 will get triggered, the intercorporate investments and loan. This will get triggered. But takeover defense strategy still won't be a challenge. The Pac-Man defense strategy will still not be a challenge here.
Sir, so final answer would be it is possible.
Yes,
But
yes.
there
Pac-Man
are
is still possible. Pac-Man is still not impossible. Pac-Man is still possible. In that case, I would say, see, even if you issue shares to the promoters, right? Even this is possible. But there is a challenge that you need to pass SR. You need to understand that one is there is no problem at all. You can straight away adopt that takeover defense strategy. One is that. Second is you cannot do that at all, right? And the third is you can do that, but there are hurdles. So these fall into the category of hurdle. If you have to borrow, let's say for Pac-Man defense strategy, you have to borrow, then there is a hurdle. It's not that you cannot do, you can do, but again, there is going to be a challenge in terms of you need to pass special resolution. Here again, there is a challenge that section 186 might not permit you, right? So there can be restrictions, but it's not impossible. Impossibility is like a classic example I can give you, the golden parachute, because if the board is being terminated, then again you cannot accept, basically you cannot have a hefty compensation that you pay to them. Make sense? The managerial
Yes, sir.
remuneration provisions, they do not allow only that you can pay this higher amount.
Yes, sir. One more point we discussed here is also Pac-Man strategy is not possible in case the acquirer company is being closely held, that is unlisted company.
Yes, yes.
Sir, I didn't get this point. Why?
Okay, so check this. So let's say you have Astha Limited. Astha Limited is the acquirer, right? And this is Astha Private Limited, let's presume. Or you can say even Astha Limited. There are only 20 shareholders in the company. So this means it's a closely held company, correct?
Yes.
Now, there is this target company. This target company is going to be a listed company, correct? Can this be an
Yes,
unlisted
sir.
company?
No, sir.
Okay, so fair enough. So this is a listed company. That's a target company. That's a listed company. So if it's a listed company, then this is not a closely held company. It's a widely held company, correct? Now, you have a promoter here. Let's say this promoter is Prakash. Okay, so Mr. Prakash is here right now. And Mr. Prakash says that, okay, Astha is acquiring my company. In return, I will also acquire the shares of her company. But the problem is, Mr. Prakash can only acquire shares of Astha Private Limited, or let's say Astha Limited, when someone is willing to sell the shares, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now these 20 shares are held by family members only. So जब तक घर का विभीषण लंका ना ढाए, there is no problem here.
Yes, sir.
Got it? So this is what we call it as if the acquirer company, okay, if the acquirer company is closely held, then you cannot basically do the Pac-Man defense.
Yes, sir. Got it. Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. What else? What else doubts? Iti, Prakash?
No doubts, sir, so far.
So far, no doubts. Iti, any topic which you want me to do a revision of? I can do that.
Sir, I haven't started yet.
Oh, you haven't started. Okay, but why?
सर अभी लेक्चर्स पुराने चल रहे हैं और मॉड्यूल भी नहीं आई है अभी.
अच्छा, okay, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. So Prakash, if you have gone through or Astha any of the topic you want me to cover again, anything?
No, I haven't gone down, sir. The entire chapters I've not seen it.
Okay.
So far it is going good only.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Then we can end the session here, and next Sunday we'll again meet. Just try to cover the topics, and we'll meet for the doubt session again. And also let me know if there is any concept which you want me to pick up I will also prepare for that. I'll at least arrange the slides and all, and then probably we can have a discussion on that also. Okay.
Sir, one more thing.
Yeah.
How to stay connected with the subject, sir? Say I've completed a chapter, I'm going to the next chapter.
Yeah.
How to stay connected with the previous chapter? Like
So
how to revise?
So there are two ways. One is you can pick up the past year questions. The best part is if you pick up the past year questions, right? So that way you can stay connected. Or the next part, best part is if you prepare bullet notes. So bullet point notes, if you have, that can again help you to revise quickly. Like I'll give you an example. Let's say it's takeover regulation you want to revise. Okay. Now, one way would be you are reading the entire regulation. The other would be you have bifurcated like this. So regulation 3, sub-regulation 1. Now, you know, this is the initial trigger 25%. Then you can say regulation 3, sub-regulation 2. So you can say, okay, acquirer has already got 25 and in a financial year up to 5, no public announcement, more than 5 public announcement. Okay. Then you can say 3, 3, right? Then you can just write 4. Then you can just write 5. So this way you can prepare your bullet point notes, and with the help of these bullet point notes, you can revise quickly. Also, while you will be preparing these bullet point notes, I can assure you, I can actually vouch for it that you will be able to retain the concepts till your exam for sure. So this is one way which I used to do, and I've always advised the students to do that. Go ahead.
Right, sir.
I'm pretty sure it is going to be helpful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, we need to be acquainted with all the recent takeovers or mergers that are happening.
So I won't say that you have to be fully acquainted with that, but it definitely helps because we have seen in the last few attempts, Institute have been asking questions from the recent case studies, right? So definitely staying updated with the recent amendments and the recent takeovers is going to be helpful. It is, especially if there is a issue with respect to the law, legal interpretation, some issue is there, or there is a dispute, then there is definitely a chance that it can be asked in your exam. Quite possible.
Okay, sir.
Right. So if see there are, so what we can also do in these Sunday sessions is we can cover these amendments, whatever amendments or whatever latest judgments and all are there. We can cover that. One is that, and second, if there is anything that you come across, you let me know. I can take up in the class. If you want to do the research and if you want to speak on that, we can do that also. So anyway, that will be again helpful. But yes, from exam point of view, I would strongly recommend that if there is any matter which is subject to dispute, litigation, or let's say there is controversy around that particular case, then it becomes important. Like I would say, it happened in the case of SpiceJet, right? So Asta, you have already watched the lectures, so you remember the SpiceJet case, right? The takeover exemption.
Yes,
so that was a current affair, and you see this has been asked thrice. 3 times they have asked SpiceJet case. Similarly, if you see June 2018 attempt, right? Even in June 2018 attempt, old syllabus, they had asked the question again on this open offer, right? The question was with respect to the voluntary open offer, not even voluntary open offer. Basically, if the open offer, so delisting question, the clubbed delisting question that was asked, right? So regulation 5A. So that time, lot of companies had got delisted. So like this attempt, I feel for your June 2022 attempt, I feel regulation 5A is important.
Okay, sir.
So you just stay updated with what is going around, and definitely you can keep a track of that. Rest everything we have covered in the class. But yes, if there is a current affair, then there are chances, like one may differ, but I still believe that that becomes relevant for your exam, because the way Institute is now conducting the professional exams, that's little different. And of course, these judgments can also come in your multidisciplinary case study. MDCS, there you can get this, the recent, let's say the Amazon Reliance dispute with respect to Future Group. That's again a very, very controversial and trending current affair around corporate law. So that is again very important because it has got Competition Act, Companies Act. So you have multiple factors which get triggered there, Contract Act. So I'm very sure that that becomes a very important topic for your curriculum. So where it comes, you don't know. It can come in your resolution of corporate dispute. It can be asked in your CRI paper also. It can be asked in your multidisciplinary case study also. So having a knowledge of that is no harm. It's surely going to help you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So anything else that I can help for today's session?
No, sir.
Okay. So just let me know again in the Telegram group that whatever topic you want me to, particularly any topic you want me to take in the next class, we can do that. If there's any current affair, we can do that. And doubts, of course, that we can ask ad hoc here in the session, right? So thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye. Happy learning.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.